So Donald Trump has every reason to be anxious about what's gone on so far this week in both Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen pleading guilty to 16 combined counts, and Michael Cohen, who's been very tightly connected with Donald Trump for some time, directly implicating the president in multiple crimes. But at the same time, Donald Trump is, by Department of Justice sort of tradition, insulated from a lot of potential accountability at the federal level. But is he so protected at the state level? To discuss this, we're joined once again on the Damage Report by David Cay Johnston, investigative journalist. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, glad to be here.
It's good to have you back. So before we get to what can actually be done, I wanted your opinion, since you've been following this in detail for years. You've been following Donald Trump for longer than the vast majority of other journalists.
Longer than any other person, 30 years.
Longer than anyone. Longer than anyone really should.
That's probably also quite true.
Yes. So did we learn anything fundamentally new on Tuesday, or was this mostly just confirmation of crimes that we've believed for months or longer took place?
Oh, no, I think we learned a great deal that's new. And it's important to understand that the Justice Department prosecutors do not allow you to enter into a plea agreement unless they believe the facts that you are pleading to or allocuting to, which is what he did in court, are true. Mm-hmm. So what we know that's true now is that, at least in the belief of the Justice Department prosecutors, that Donald Trump directed these hush money payments, that these payments were run through the Trump organization. So when Donald Trump goes on Fox and says, there's no crime here, there's no crime, it was my personal money, I didn't know about it until afterwards, all of those are lies. These are felony crimes under federal law, and that's new. Secondly, there's a tantalizing little pair of details about the payments the Trump organization made to Michael Cohen. We did know that Cohen had sought reimbursement of the $130,000 payoff to Stormy Daniels, 45% of which, by the way, went to her lawyer, who may well have been working in league with Trump rather than representing Ms. Daniels. Well, he got back $360,000. Now, why would you pay someone more than twice what it was they billed you for? I just sort of wonder what might motivate that. Secondly, there's an item in there of a $50,000 reimbursement for, during the campaign, technical services. We'll have to wait a little while to find out, but don't be surprised if that turns out to be payments to a hacker.
Mm-hmm. That is certainly a possibility. Maybe some 300-pound hacker in his basement, as Donald Trump would put it.
In his basement, or maybe a Russian agent in St. Petersburg.
Perhaps. So in terms of what can actually be done, the Department of Justice, many people say that the policy is that the DOJ will not allow for the federal indictment of a sitting president. But you've written recently about the possibility of various forms of state-level action against the president. How would that actually play out?
Well, first let's deal with the Justice Department rule. After Watergate, different administrations looked at this and concluded that the problem with indicting a president is it's a unitary executive, and basically the president would be indicting himself. I think that's a nonsense argument, but that is the policy of our federal government at the moment. So on June 15th, DC Report, my nonprofit, non-advertising news service, began a campaign to get people to pressure the state of New York to undertake a criminal investigation of the Trump Foundation and its trustees and officers. Donald Trump, his three older children, the CFO of the Trump Organization, who we now know didn't even know he was an officer of the foundation for the years when Trump was using it as a personal cookie jar. The foundation's abuses and disregard for federal law that limits where you can spend charitable dollars create tax issues for Donald Trump. New York tax law is essentially, New York tax reporting is essentially identical to the federal government unless you're a retiree. So every time the Trump Foundation paid a lawsuit settlement on behalf of Trump, bought portraits that hang in Trump properties, bought the Tim Tebow helmet, made the illegal campaign contribution to the attorney general candidate who was reelected in Florida, who shut down her investigation of Donald Trump's corrupt Trump University. That was income to Donald Trump. And if he didn't report those and other payments as income, he has committed tax crimes. Now, the attorney general of New York only has inherent civil authority, but she acquires criminal investigative powers if the governor, the state police, or the State Department of Taxation make a criminal referral to her. So at DC Report on June 15th and then July 5th in the New York Times in an op-ed, I urged people to call the governor's office. The governor came around in a little bit of a weaselly way, but basically made it clear he was open to a criminal investigation. And we now know that there is a criminal investigation underway. Michael Cohen was served with a subpoena by the State Department of Taxation and Finance, and he immediately called them and said, hey, what can I tell you? When do you want to meet? Let's get together. So this is very important because if Trump does shut down the Mueller investigation or pardons people who are indicted by Mueller and his team, he has no power to interfere with the state investigations. And if Donald Trump has committed felonies, he's like any one of the rest of us. We shouldn't cower before someone with power, and we shouldn't hesitate to arrest, to indict, arrest, prosecute, and if found guilty, imprison any felon.
Well, that is certainly interesting information. I don't think a lot of people are particularly well versed on the different possibilities, federal versus state. And so perhaps we'll see that play out, especially with, as you said, the Trump Foundation, Michael Cohen information coming out yesterday. I have one more question for you. We only have a few minutes, but based on what you know about Donald Trump, and as you said, you've been following him for literally decades. With the situation that he's in right now and information being leaked from people who know him saying that he is feeling the anxiety, how do you think he's likely to react in the near future?
Donald has become increasingly erratic, as I predicted he would since he became president, because he's totally and completely unqualified. Donald is delusional. He literally believes, and he's been saying this for 30 years I've known him, that he is superior to the rest of us. I mean, in fact, he calls anybody who disagrees with him an idiot or a fool or stupid, particularly people of color. And now that Donald is seeing that there's a tightening vice around him and more people are going to abandon him because his whole system is run on a mob mentality of loyalty to the boss, I think that Donald is going to behave even more erratically. I think this is a very dangerous time for the country. And it is particularly dangerous because the leading Republicans on Capitol Hill are trying every which way they can to continue protecting Donald Trump instead of fulfilling their constitutional duties of oversight and investigation.
And I would certainly predict that that will continue.
Probably.
David Cay Johnston, thank you for joining the show once again and then lending your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video from The Damage Report. Please don't forget to like the video and also to subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as soon as new videos become available. To hear even more about both this topic and other issues not being covered nearly enough by the mainstream media, you're going to want to tune in every morning to our full hour-long show. That's at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, available on the TYT Network channel on YouTube TV.